Hi friends, today I'm going to show you how to put text behind your subject using a magnetic mask in Final Cut Pro. Let's jump into it. First thing we need to do is duplicate the clip that we want to put the text behind. So I like to hold down Alt and then click and drag that clip directly above itself to make a copy. Now I'm going to turn off the bottom one for a second by hitting V. Then we're going to come back up to our top clip. This is the one we're going to add the mask to. Come over here to the effects panel, type mask, and the magnetic mask is the one we're looking for. Instead of double clicking the mask to apply it to your clip, we're going to click and drag it directly onto the video in the program monitor. As you can see, it's highlighted the subject in red, starting to create a mask. So I'm going to let go, and now we have the first iteration of our mask. Now we have this eyedropper tool to add or subtract to the mask that's already created. And if you ever lose that eyedropper tool, hitting this plus or minus button up here is how you get it back. These two are brushes for fine tuning, which we'll get to later in the video. So with this eyedropper tool, I would like to add my chair into the subject. So I'm going to click on the chair and it automatically selects the chair, but it's also selected part of the screen. So I'm going to hold Alt and then the minus sign appears. You could also manually come up to this minus button up here to shift into the subtract eyedropper. And now we're going to click on this screen, and that looks like it did a pretty good job of removing the screen. Let's see how that mask is looking so far by coming over to the effects panel and clicking this little purple person. Okay, that looks great, except for that my hair is a little bit blue and that's going to show up, and we don't want that. So we can either try to play with that by subtracting the feather. You see, if you add the feather, it creates more of the background. If you subtract the feather, it removes more of the background. But there's still a little bit of blue, and I'd like to make it a little better than that. So I'm going to turn the purple person back on to get back our background. Now you could either do one of two things. If it's a large section, you could go back to the eyedropper and subtract. So I could do that and click right there, and that would probably do a pretty good job. Let me turn that on. Great, I'm pretty happy with that. If it's a small section, you can come up to this little brush and subtract from it that way. So now I'm going to zoom in by hitting Command plus and adjusting this little red window right here. Now I'm going to come in with this brush and just remove this section next to my head. You can use this slider right here to make the brush size bigger or smaller. Check it again. Okay, that's good enough for me. So now we're going to click this Analyze button. And the cool thing about this is that it doesn't matter where you start in your clip. You can analyze it forwards and backwards to get the entire clip covered. So we're going to start working our way backwards, and then we're going to analyze it forwards. We can watch the mask by pushing this purple person again and hitting play. Your subject using a magnetic mask in Final Cut Pro. Let's jump into it. Depending on how big your text is, it doesn't have to actually be perfect, because you might only be using a small section of it. For my purposes, this is probably going to be pretty good. Today I'm going to show you how to put text behind your subject using a magnetic mask in Final Cut Pro. Let's jump into it. But as you can see, it kind of picks up the shadow of the seat right here, which we don't necessarily want. So if that's the case for you, we can go through and use this brush tool or the eyedropper tool. This is a pretty large section, so I'm going to use the eyedropper tool. And I'm just going to deselect that. Perfect, that looks much better. Now I'm going to reanalyze it backwards. And now we can watch it again. And you can see that part of the chair has disappeared. Now, if your edges are looking kind of harsh, you can come in and play with the feather tool right here and soften them up a little bit, but don't go too far or you'll start getting the background in it, which you don't want. Now let's turn this back on, and here's the fun part. We're going to grab a text by coming over to this titles panel, or if you have a graphic already made, you can just bring that directly in. So come over to the title window, grab whatever title template that you are planning on using, and drag it in between your two clips, making sure it's beneath the one that you just cut out. Then we're going to turn our other one back on, and I'm going to move it to where you can see it. Just for the sake of this tutorial, I've just typed Final Cut Gal and I put it behind my head. And now you can see as I move it around, it is behind my head. So depending on how complex your graphic is, you don't even need to cut out your chair or the other parts like this. All you really need to make sure the mask has covered is the part that you are going to be behind. And it's honestly pretty good. And now we can watch it. Hi friends, today I'm going to show you how to put text behind your subject using a magnetic mask in Final Cut Pro. Let's jump into it. There you have it. Thanks for watching. For more videos, please hit the like and subscribe button below.